accordance with sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. Before I get into my introductory remarks, I would just like to introduce myself. I'm Stan Kumorik. I'll be your chair this morning. I'd also like to introduce my fellow panel members. On my far left is Natalia Popovic. On my left is Laura Alderson. On my right is Rick Ross, and on my far right is Bill Dalton. I'd also like to introduce Barbara Petorzik, our Deputy Secretary Treasurer, and Barb's staff in front of us here. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from provisions of the zoning that apply to property, permission to extend or alter lawful nonconforming uses, and consents to sever property to create new lots. Our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Our hearing procedure this morning. Committee of Adjustment public hearings are now conducted in a hybrid and in-person virtual format. Some applicants and participants will make their submissions in person, while others will participate virtually by electronic means through WebEx. The meetings are also streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel, and anyone wishing to view the hearing may watch on YouTube. Those who want to participate virtually and have registered in advance will be connecting with their computer, tablet, smartphone, or telephone and have the option of participating via video or audio only. All virtual participants will automatically be muted on entry. When your item is called, you will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. Those participating by video appearance will be temporarily upgraded to panelist. When your item is being held during this time, your camera will be enabled. You will only be visible during your 5-minute allotted speaking time. At all other times, your video will be disabled and you will be reinstated as an attendee. For both in-person and virtual participants, Committee of Adjustment staff will share presentations submitted in accordance with the written submission deadline. Those participating through WebEx are not allowed to use share screen or any other panelist controls during their WebEx appearance. Decisions of the Committee of Adjustment. People attending in person today who want to receive a copy of the decision of the committee must fill out a decision request card, and those participating virtually need to submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and email address, as the Committee of Adjustment and the Toronto Local Appeal Body will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, you may be able to appeal the decision to the Toronto Local Appeal Body or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal. However, the provincial government amended the Planning Act and generally removed rights of third parties to appeal Committee of Adjustment decisions. Now, only the applicant, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and specified persons and public bodies are permitted to appeal decisions. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. Our procedure this morning, I will call each item in the order listed in the agenda. When you make your submission where an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant may proceed with their presentation if desired. When the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to speak to the committee. The committee may ask questions and or take the matter into committee for decision. Each speaker, including the applicant agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. I will comment when you are reaching or at your 5-minute mark. Any presentation or other material you wish to submit to the committee must have been emailed in advance of the hearing. Staff and committee members cannot accept materials at the hearing today. When addressing the committee, please clearly state your name and address. Please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or agent will proceed first and will make a presentation to the committee. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions, as I mentioned earlier. The committee may decide to defer the application if substantially revised to ensure the revised application is accurate and that those entitled to notice of the application are informed of the changes. Secondly, individuals either in support or opposition to the application will then be invited to speak. Generally, we first call on speakers in the hearing room and then those participating through the online WebEx. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have finished their presentation. When all speakers are finished, the applicant or agent has the opportunity to rebut, but only those issues that were raised by the previous speakers. This will mark the end of the discussion. The application will then be taken into committee for a decision. That's our opening remarks. Our first item on the agenda is the minutes from the previous hearing, which I believe was February the 20th. So if I can get a motion from someone who was at that meeting.
I was at the meeting and I will move to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Seconder.
And I can second that.
Thank you, Ms. Alderson. All in favor? Okay, those minutes are approved. Are there any declarations of interest of panel members or staff for any of the items on the morning agenda?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I have a conflict with item number 3, as I've assisted the applicant on other projects, so I will leave the room.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dalton. Anyone else? No? Okay, thank you. So deferral requests. I don't believe there are any requested deferrals by the applicants in the morning session. Madam Secretary Treasurer, no. So we'll just go through, and there are no files to be closed. No. So we'll just go through the agenda as in the agenda order. Starting with item 1. This is 19 Kingsgrove Boulevard, an application to permit a front yard parking pad, and there is one variance being requested. We have a arborist report, and we have a letter of concern from one of the neighbors and advisory comments from Metrolinx. And we have a speaker, Salvatore.
Good morning.
Good morning, welcome.
Thank you.
We could get a brief presentation, please.
Yeah, well, firstly, good morning to you, Mr. Chair, committee members, committee of adjustment staff. Name is Sal Creamy, address 2572 Eglinton Avenue West. Before you is an application to permit a parking space and a driveway widening within the front yard. There is an existing driveway and a internal garage. This is a widening so that 2 cars can fit side by side. It is a somewhat common application along Kingsgrove and within that immediate area. Upon my review of the file, I did note one concern, and that would have been the existing silver maple tree that is in the front yard. Within proximity to the driveway widening, it is 5.3 meters in distance from the tree to the work area of that driveway widening. I did retain the services of an arborist to review the proposal and to see what harm would be, if any, posed to that existing tree. It was confirmed that there is very minimal risk to the tree. The tree in question has a tree protection zone of 4.3 meters, so the intense work area is well outside of that protected zone where there would need to be some excavations to create a base for the new driveway. The rest of the driveway will just be a resurfacing, so that can be done manually and with light machinery, posing no harm whatsoever to the tree. There was one concern letter on file, which you have before you, and it was just to make sure that that tree health is maintained. I verified that myself, and I'm confident this is a palatable application for you to approve. Open it up to any questions.
Thank you. I'll just start off with one question, and that's, do you have examples of similar situations in the immediate neighborhood?
Neighboring driveways along the street.
Address?
So the house actually just next door.
Right next door?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, any other questions?
I have
Go ahead.
I have a question as well, Mr. Agent. My colleague has the Google Maps view,
Yeah.
and I could be wrong, but is there an opportunity, with concern for the tree, for the driveway not to be double wide the whole distance, narrow past the tree and then wider closer to the house.
That's what the proposal is.
So because the neighbor has, it looks like the same thing.
We're not proposing that. We're proposing to keep the existing width and only closer to the house widen it. And that is outside of the tree protection zone.
Okay, thank you.
Just for the record, we did receive another letter of concern from the neighbor across the street regarding the tree, particularly about the tree. And it looks like, based on images from 2020 to current images, that the tree has actually suffered some damage. There's quite a large limb missing from it. But anyway, I just wanted to comment on that.
Okay. Bill, did you have a question or no? Okay, thanks. Okay, thank you. We'll take it into committee. I'm assuming there's no one else here to speak to this item?
No, Mr. Chairman, there's no one.
Thank you. Okay, panel members?
Okay, with that, I believe the application meets the four tests and move a motion for approval, as there are no conditions.
Okay, is there a seconder?
I will second that, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I'll give it to Ms. Popovic. All in favor? Okay, have unanimous approval. Sorry, anyone opposed? No, okay. Okay, item 2, 101, 107, 10, 11, 1037, the Queensway. This is an application to modify development standards from a site-specific bylaw. There are 5 variances being requested. Transportation is requesting 3 conditions in the event that we have an approval. And I believe that's all we have. And Joel Farber, welcome. Good day, sir.
Good day.
We don't have a lot of opposition here. I don't think we have any, but just given that it's a fairly substantial application, if we could do a presentation, please.
Sure, please. Mr. Chair, there are 5 variances before you. There are 4 that relate to Building 1, which is the corner building at the Islington and the Queensway, and there's 1 variance related to the parking. The bylaw, when it was settled back in 2022, or finalized by the OLT in 2022 with the consent of the city, it really shrinked wrap the building with the intent to ensure the design of the building as was contemplated by the original application. And so there's some significant, some substantial, and you can see in the bylaw schedules, there are numerous setbacks of various elements of the building, including the tower portion and the podium portion. And so there are, as a result of the design and the construction of the building, there's some relief that we're requesting related to the setbacks from Islington and from the Queensway in respect of the corner property. And those are modest in the nature of around 30 centimeters. And there's some also some modest adjustments or relief we're requesting for the heights of the building, in particular the 10-story portion and the 5-story portion of the building. And you can see the sort of the complexity of the setbacks and the height restrictions that are associated with that. And the parking variance, Mr. Chair, relates to the desire to accommodate some additional commercial parking, and that is enabled by the fact that there is, in fact, less demand for the residential parking than was originally contemplated by the parking standards that we'd established back at the time of the original approval. And Mr. Chair, the official plan and the zoning bylaw and my submission are satisfied. The zoning bylaw was obviously intended to create this project, to enable this project, and that's exactly what the variances speak to, and to enable the completion of the project as contemplated in my submission. The variances are minor and appropriate and desirable. And you have also a parking, you also have a submission or a justification report related to the transportation or the parking relief.
Okay, thank you. The transportation conditions, do you have any issues with those?
No, sir.
Thank you. The commercial parking, is that intended for customers or for staff or for both?
It's, I think it's intended for both. It would enable more commercial public parking, but it's the actual 10 spaces are the actual 10 spaces that are being freed up are going to be presumably leased to the actual staff and employees of the commercial facilities.
Okay, I'm assuming the commercial uses on the ground floor, are they going to be restaurant?
They're going to be retail, as I understand. it.
Retail? Oh,
Yeah.
really? So we're losing those restaurants that were there then?
Right.
Okay.
Yes. For the time being.
Okay, no, I just thought it was a good synergy with the movie theater across the way, but anyway. And the access for customer parking, is it at ground level, or how's that going to work?
The access for customer parking is at ground level, yes. The access to the garage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Those are the end of my questions. Anyone else? No? Okay, is there anyone else to speak to this item here?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. We'll take it into committee then.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So I would move to approve the application subject to the transportation. I would move to approve the application subject to the transportation.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Is there a seconder?
I'll second that.
Mr. Dalton, all in favor? Okay, it's unanimous approval. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next item, 5425 Dundas Street West, an application to convert the existing second and third floor level non-residential uses into residential uses, with 4 variances being requested. Before we get into the details of this application, I think we need to resolve whether we're going to defer this or not. And that's what I'd like to address first. Transportation originally requested a deferral. I believe they wanted a parking study. You provided a parking study. They're still not satisfied with that and are still asking for a deferral.
We would be happy to work with the transportation review staff to resolve the parking allocation. There are 71 office parking spaces that they're asking to be allocated between the commercial portion and residential portion. Considering the residential portion will remain rental residential, so we were proposing that portion can be shared between commercial and residential.
Okay, but I think what they're looking for is more detail from you before they support the application.
Sorry, can we get your name and address before?
My name is Ali Reza, and I'm representative of the Pinnacle International, the owner of the property.
So I wanted to get your position on the deferral.
We would be, we accept any decision for deferral if you would do that.
You're okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. I think the committee would feel more comfortable having a more fulsome review from transportation. Otherwise, I'd be getting into a whole lot of questions from you as to where the parking's going to be allocated, what's going to be access, what's going to be the controls. But, I think it's probably more efficient from a time perspective for transportation to ask you and resolve all of that rather than us doing it here today.
We respect that decision.
Well, anyway, that's my opinion. It's not a
correct.
decision yet.
Correct, I understand.
Okay, thank you. Could I just, there were a number of speakers on this item, and I would just like to give them the opportunity to comment on the possibility of this being deferred as well. So is there anyone here in person? I think,
So we had a Cheryl, but she is online.
so no one here in person to speak to this item? Okay.
So no one in person.
Okay, so yeah, sorry, so we can go to people.
I'll connect to the
online.
people, yeah. Okay, go ahead, Shirley.
Yeah, hi. So I'm a resident at 50 Thomas Riley Road, which is the same building where Pinnacle is suggesting that
We
they're going
just
to
need your full
change
name,
this.
please.
Cheryl and D'Souza, 50 Thomas Riley Road. Can I go ahead?
Yeah, and we're actually not dealing with the application right now. We just wanted to get your input on the possibility of deferring this to another time.
Sure, sure.
So how do you feel about deferring
Sure,
that?
I think what's suggested around a more robust review by the transportation team is required, because right now there is a mess on that service access road, as well as things that the builder still needs to fix within the building. So I think, yes, defer it and have them, I'm good with what you suggested, so
Thank
that
you.
we can. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else?
So we have another Stephen, but they're like an agent for support.
Okay,
But no one else from the public.
okay, perfect. So we'll take it into committee on a decision to defer.
Just a comment. I mean, transportation has obviously very valid concerns, but also planning had I don't know if you'd read the planning report.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
I talked to the owner about the planning condition, and he accepted the condition.
There's two conditions of approval from planning.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So he was fine with the planning conditions,
Yeah, we're going to accept the condition.
but still
of
we
plan.
have the transportation concerns.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make a motion for a deferral to the next available, based on the transportation concerns and working with transportation on those.
Sure.
Thank you, Ms. Alders.
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Povic. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, the item is deferred. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
No,
No.
I just had my microphone over. So it's unanimous.
Just going to wait to get our panel back for the next item, which is item 4, 55 Longborough Avenue. This is an application to construct a new fourplex dwelling and a garden suite in the rear yard. There are 8 variances that have been reduced now to 7. One has been removed. So 7 variances being requested. We have advisory comments from Metrolinx. We have 3 letters of objection. We have an objection petition, and we have forestry requesting condition 3.
Before we start, Mr. Chairman, we have a last-minute in-person participant, Carl Hall. They would like to present
Sure.
as an area resident.
Carl Hall?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So the agent is online.
That is correct. I will connect them now. Oops, wrong person.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Could we get your name and address, please?
My name is Joe Seamer. I'm at 15 Berkeley Court in Markham. L3R6M4 is the address.
Okay, thank you. And if you're ready to go forward, we'd like to get your presentation.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. Appreciate your time today. I will speak to the variances that we're requesting. And Chris Caverson, the owner of the property, is also with us today, and he would like to have a few words after my brief presentation. Simply want to run through.
There's only one speaker doing the presentation, so you have to decide.
Okay, so he had registered to speak as well, so.
But he's the owner of the property, so are you speaking and making the presentation, or is he?
I am, so.
Okay.
I guess y'all.
Or are you wanting to split your 5 minutes?
Could I? Is that an option?
It's an option.
Okay. And is there a way to?
It's going to be hard to enforce, because if you go over I'm going to cut off the next speaker, so.
Okay. All right. As I say, I'll be brief.
Okay.
This development is simply to, promote the city's housing policies, that there is a housing shortage, and I'm very pleased that a landowner like Chris is able to bring forward this development that conforms largely to the city's policies. It's a development that's in close proximity to transit, to schools, to parks. It's needed, and it's purpose-built rental. There are 4 units in the main building and 1 garden suite. There are 4 variances that are affecting the main building. One of the variances for the main building is a side yard setback. The side yard is what is permitted by zoning is 1.2 meters. We're asking for 0.3 meters, and that is because that's where the existing footprint of the building is, and that is essentially where all of the buildings, all of the dwellings on LONBOROUGH on that south side, they all have similar types of setbacks. And so this variance, I believe, is consistent with what is already happening in the neighborhood. I think it's fair that this side yard setback be permitted. And in my professional opinion, I believe it is minor in nature. It supports the overall development. The second variance is for the platform, and that is to address a stairwell that's in the front yard. That stairwell goes down to the lower unit. And each one of these units is a 3-bedroom unit. So the platform extends into the front yard. What is permitted by zoning is 0.77 meters and 0.3 meters on the side yard. We're asking for 1.15 meters going into the front yard and 0.2 for the side yard. There is no visual effect by the stairwell. So from the street, it doesn't have the appearance that there's going to be a platform in front of the building. What is happening today on the property is a porch that extends entirely within the front yard. So this is actually an improvement, in my opinion, to the existing condition, and I believe it is minor. The front yard landscaping is also a variance we're asking for the main building. What is permitted is 75%. We're asking for 47%. Again, the porch of the existing building extends entirely in front of the landscaped area. So this is an improvement over the existing conditions, and there will be landscaping in the future. So we believe that this is a great thing for this type of development. The last variance for the main building is the rear yard landscape, where 50% is required. We're asking for 37.9%. And this is a little bit because the building length is longer than what is existing. And so we're kind of going into that rear yard a little bit. But this allows for 3-bedroom units on each of these 4 units that are in the main building. And so it's appropriate that if we're allowing for family-size units, that this variance be lowered a little bit, or the required from the zoning has been lowered a little bit to accommodate family-sized units. For the garden suite, there's 3 variances. We allowed for the bike parking to take place, and so that's why we're only asking for 7, where before we were asking for 8 variances. For the garden suite, the variances include landscaping. Again, it's a little bit of a compromise of making sure that we get appropriate sized unit for living space, and the compromise is in the landscaped area, but the landscaping that
You're just down to less than a minute.
Quality. Okay. And the side yard setback is similar to what is very, very minor, 0.01. 45-degree angular plane is an interpretation from the zoning enforcement about the average grade. If Chris can jump on for 30 seconds, yeah, I'm sure he'd love to have a few words.
And we need him to state his full name.
Chris Caverson. And I'll try and be very quick. Thank you, Joe. Thank you to members of the committee I just very quickly in closing, I'll just add that ultimately what we're proposing is in line with the city and city council's direction for expanding housing options in neighborhoods. And we ultimately have a housing crisis, and we're looking to do our part in an attempt to address that housing crisis. And I think it's important to mention that, you know, I appreciate that a lot of my neighbors are opposed to change, and ultimately this is a concern over change.
I'll ask you to wrap up now, please.
That we seek. So with that, thank you very much, and look forward to any questions.
Thank you. Panel members, questions for the applicant? No. Okay. If we can start with those. Carl Hall is here.
So yes, I forgot to mention we haven't had another one as well, Paula Bello. So we'll start with, so we have a Joshua Ferreira, Carl Hall, and a Paula Bello.
Come on up.
Can I be the last one, please?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Joshua?
Yes.
So get your name and address, please.
It's Joshua Ferreira, 57 LONBOROUGH Avenue.
Thank you.
Directly west to the subject property. Good morning,
Good
committee,
morning.
chairman. Thank you for having us. I'm just going to read off my phone here. I'm speaking on behalf of myself and my fiancée, Melissa, who's also here and owner of the property. We object to the proposed variances as we do not deem them to be minor in nature. A building of this magnitude with the shadowing and loss of privacy will impact the enjoyment of our property and day-to-day life. The closer the building is to our property line, the more shadowing there will be. We request that the 3-story fourplex is built a minimum of a 1.2 meter setback to prevent further shadowing from happening. If these plans are approved, it would have significant impact on the amount of sunlight we receive both inside and in our backyard. As per the comparison photos submitted ahead of time, a building of this size in such a dense neighborhood would cause significant shadowing amongst the neighboring houses. The current bungalow has a setback of 0.35 meters at the front and 0.567 at the rear from the west property line. The proposed plans state that there is a current setback of 0.33 meters from the west property line. We request the applicants work with the current setback guidelines, since going up 3 stories and moving closer to our bungalow will significantly impact the shadowing effect. The further away from the property line, the lesser the shadowing impact there will be on our property. Pertaining to the requested variance number 7, the request states that the distance between the rear main wall and the garden suite is 7.5 meters, but the plans show a distance of only 5 meters. The surrounding community is predominantly composed of single-family homes, with many bungalows that define its character and charm. Introducing a fourplex of this scale would be an abrupt and inappropriate departure from the established architectural and density patterns of our neighborhood. Although we acknowledge the need for housing in the city, the requests to the zoning bylaws are not minor in nature and should not be approved. As mentioned, we have concerns of the shadowing impact to our property, as well as the many discrepancies between the requests and the plans submitted. We request that the committee takes into strong consideration the petition signed by over 45 neighbors and share the same concerns with us, and the letter of opposition submitted by Francis Nunziata, who is our local MPP. It was emailed to the committee ahead of time. I'm not sure if you guys can put that in record. I do have a copy here, and I would love to read it for the committee if that's okay with the remaining 2 minutes.
That's your local counselor.
Sorry?
Your local counselor.
Yes.
So you refer to her as
local
her MPP.
local
It's
counselor. Okay. So she said, "Dear committee, I am writing to formally express my strong opposition to the application before you seeking approval to construct a fourplex dwelling and a garden suite at 55 LONBOROUGH Avenue. The proposal has generated significant concern amongst area residents, and I share their deep reservations about the negative impact such a development would have on our neighborhood. The surrounding community is predominantly composed of single-family homes with many bungalows that define its character and charm." I did use a piece of her letter. "The excessive density and massing of this proposed development are wholly incompatible with the existing housing fabric. Approving this application risks setting the precedent for further intensification that can permanently alter the unique character of our community. Moreover, the increased occupancy, additional vehicles, and potential strain on local infrastructure would diminish the livability and safety of the area. As of this date, there are 3 formal objection letters, which we know have been submitted, along with a petition signed by over 45 community members, including the subject properties abutting neighbors who are here today. I urge the committee to acknowledge this overwhelming community sentiment and deny the application. Our neighborhood's identity, stability, and quality of life deserve protection, and I trust the committee will recognize the importance of preserving the integrity of our community. Thank you for your time. Any questions for me?
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank
Any
you.
questions?
Yeah, I have a question. You did not mention anything about the reduced soft landscaping? Okay.
I'm more concerned about the setbacks and the shadowing impact it's going to have. The setbacks in both surveys show that it's not 0.33 as stated by the plans. It's actually a little bit more than that. So the proposed plans are going to be encroaching further towards the property line and have a significant impact on the shadowing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? No?
Just before you leave,
Yeah.
I'm just wondering how you feel about the garden suite if that were to go forward without the fourplex.
We are not opposed to change, as Chris may have mentioned. Like I said, we're just more concerned about the livability of our house and being able to enjoy it as intended. You know, this is going to have a significant impact on us and our day-to-day lives. The garden suite, the setbacks are what they are. I know we need the housing. We're willing to work with them on that, but I think the biggest concern for us is the setback on the west side of the property. It's currently at 0.57 at the rear. Pushing it to 0.33 would also restrict access to my driveway, and we have a 2-car garage in the back. Most of the houses on the street, as you can see from Google Maps, all follow the same setbacks, and they all have a driveway easement along the side of the house with garages in the rear.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Could we get the next speaker in the room?
Good morning, Mr.
Good morning.
Chair.
You might want to
Committee?
lower the microphone. Thanks. And could you get your name and address, please?
Okay, thank you. So good morning to all. Good morning, committee, Mr. Chair. My name is Paula Bello. I reside currently at 53 Lonborough, which is just east of the property in question. So I have submitted one of the objection letters. I canvassed the neighborhood to get as many signatures as possible. And I just wanted to reiterate very similar concerns that I did in my letter. So I came in the interest of the neighborhood and our community. I'd like just to repeat my concerns, which I have already stated in my submitted letter. And my concerns basically remain the same. While I do agree that Mr. Caverson does need to attend to his house at 53 Lonborough in terms of renovations, maintenance, it is greatly required at this time. I can only disagree about his present plans and the proposal. My letter states my concerns regarding privacy, parking issues, and basically just the magnitude and the size of this proposed plan. It's not that we don't want him to change it. The house needs change. It's just too immense for the lot and for the size in the neighborhood. As a direct neighbor to his property, it's a monstrosity of a building, in my opinion. It does not fit into the landscape of the neighborhood. It's too large for the lot. And basically it overshadows our smaller homes. It infringes on privacy with all the excessive windows and balconies that he's proposing in the back, as it extends into the backyards. And more so, it steals away from our daylight and our sunlight. You can notice that there's going to be a shadowing created for all of us. Our homes will now become darkened, colder, because of the lack of the sun that is blocked by the extension and the height. So basically, my concern is our access and bills now due to this building. The sun will be completely covered on my side by noon, just as it starts to warm up the day. And we will get darkness throughout the west side window, which is what warms into our home and into our living room. and basically the entire backyard will be the building will be infringing on the sunlight and the daylight. We make great use of our yard due to the sunlight in the afternoon and evenings, and this will basically be taken away from us because of the size of the proposed plan. What Mr. Caverson considers to be minor variances, we see these as major, although it may not look like it on paper. What he is stating on paper doesn't comply with city compliance measurements. The blueprints basically show one measurement, and on the from the printout on his proposed plan. One example is the garden suite that doesn't have the required 7.5 meters from the main dwelling. It only shows 5 on the blueprints. Mr. Ferreira, the gentleman that just spoke ahead of me, has pointed out a few variances in detail, and I believe that these need to be reviewed before going forward. And I do agree that Mr. Caverson needs to fix his property. However, he needs to do it without infringing and disturbing us neighbors around. It's very clear through the signatures presented to the council or to the committee that this community does not welcome such an overly sized, intrusive building in our neighborhood, perhaps smaller. Our MP is also supporting us, which I appreciate, and I believe that she also understands that we need to keep the neighborhood's landscape and characteristics very similar. We value open space. We value openness in our neighborhood. We value the small oriented and family-centered community that we've had for a long time. I myself have been there for over 20 years, and many of the neighbors have been there for at least 10 plus, and we wish to maintain it similar. So basically that's it. I do appreciate your time to hear us. I appreciate your understanding with our concerns and our issues, and your review with this issue and everything that we presented to you today.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions from panel members? No. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Hall?
Good morning, members of the council. I appreciate you taking your time to listen to us.
I'll get your name and address.
My name is Carl Hall. I'm a resident and owner at 79 Lonborough Avenue. I've lived in the area since 1968, and I've seen the changes that have followed along the way. As I look at the streetscape of Lonborough Avenue, I see, as has been mentioned before, bungalows, story-and-a-half dwellings, as well as two-story dwellings. In the neighboring streets, I see the same kind of character. And there have been changes. People have renovated. People have made bigger buildings. But there's nothing to the extent that is being proposed right now. As stated earlier, the neighbors, the people whose names are on the petition, as well as other people who I've spoken with concerning this, have told me that, first of all, that they were not aware of what was going to be happening. The communication informing the community in large has not been very effective. And a lot of people wanted to express their concern, but because of deadlines in terms of submitting things and so on, they could not do so. So I'm speaking on behalf of other people as well. We are the residents on the street. We are full-time residents. We are the property owners in most cases. We are the taxpayers, and we also are the voters in this neighborhood. The reason why I'm talking about this part of it is because the proposal of this application, I want to know if the applicant is going to be a permanent resident on the street who's going to be part of the community on a daily basis. The effects that are going to be incurred on us because of this possible construction are going to be varied. One of the things that I want to focus on, basically, because of the snowstorm that we just experienced in the past few weeks, parking. 4 or 5 separate units of people. I'm sure someone is going to have an automobile somewhere. People are going to have visitors. They're going to want to be able to access their property. Where are the people going to be parking? Not just the new ones, but the ones who live there already. We already have this issue. We have chosen to live in this community because of the look and the feel, as has been stated by Paula. And we want to continue to be living in our community. We understand also that there is a need for housing. I want to just focus on a quote, a famous quote by John F. Kennedy, and I'd like to rephrase it in the sense that applies to this situation. Ask not how to make the plan fit the bylaws. Ask how to change the bylaws to fit the plan. Now, the properties that we are living in are fairly narrow. I know that there are many places in the city where the dimensions are a lot wider and a lot deeper. Now, this proposed construction has to fit the space that is there. And because of the need of all the variances, that's one sign to me saying that the plan that they have proposed is going far beyond what should be expected. Why can't they make the plan fit the spaces that are there? Concerning the setback into our the neighbor's driveway, all of the properties in this community face the same situation. This situation occurred a long time ago, and it's something that we have accepted. So if the construction needs to be done, it has to be done within the framework of the property size. I know the time is nearing an end. I'd like to thank all of you for listening to our concerns. We highly urge you to say no to this petition for the reasons that we have mentioned. And thank you once again.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from panel members? No. Okay, thank you, Mr. Hall.
Thank you.
Just a comment. I liked the quote. Thank you. I liked the quote.
The abridged?
The abridged version.
Yeah.
Sorry, would you like me to state the original version?
No.
I
We're
heard
good.
the
We're
original,
good. We're good.
But I did like the abridged version. Thank you.
Okay. We have another person online, another resident.
Thank you.
No, Mr. Chair, that was it.
Joshua Ferreira, no?
Joshua Ferreira was in person.
Oh, in person.
Yeah.
Right.
He was the first one.
Okay, perfect. So I'll ask the applicant to come back for a rebuttal then. Joe?
Actually, Chris would like to respond to the comments.
That's fine.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep, we're good. Go ahead.
Okay, so thank you again to members of the committee. Thank you for the neighbors that have spoken up. There's a few comments I think that I would like to make. We did not receive a letter from Councillor Nunziata, so I'm not exactly sure when that was added. But nonetheless, obviously, she did submit that letter. I mean, I think it's important to reiterate that City Council, including Councillor Nunziata, had approved the multiplex OPA and zoning bylaws to permit the use that we're proposing. So, I mean, I think that I do want to touch upon a couple of the other concerns that the neighbors have that sort of speak to what we are proposing. I mean, this property is located 500 meters away from a proposed multimodal transit hub. It's a 6-minute walk to the Eglinton LRT. It's onto a property that has a 20-story apartment building on it. 20-story apartment building that has direct views into all of these backyards. So it's not like there isn't visibility from taller buildings that exist in this neighborhood today that currently have access to the visibility of these backyards. What we are proposing is permitted in the bylaw. We are able to build 4 units. We are able to build a garden suite. We ultimately are here before you to discuss about variances that are allowing us to right-size this building so that when we do build these 4 units and this garden suite, that we're able to provide a unit type that fits with ultimately what is going to address our housing crisis. And that is a 3-bedroom and 2-bath unit that's approximately 1,000 square feet that targets, you know, professional families that right now do not have the ability to acquire these types of units. Their options are buy something that they can't afford, rent something that's too small, or ultimately move out of the city. So this is something that I feel very strongly about, that I believe fits with the intent of ultimately what the city wants to see in terms of alternative housing for people. The city has targeted these neighborhoods for this product. They have told us that we need to change. They have taken the steps to implement that change. And again, I appreciate that my neighbors don't want to see change, but the reality is that change is coming, change is permitted, and it's just a matter of whether or not we can get it right with respect to right sizing. And I don't believe that, you know, shrinking the variances and building a smaller building and having to build a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom unit is the right answer here. I think that would ultimately attract a different tenant. I think that would ultimately attract a tenant that may not show the same respect to the neighborhood. I assure you, I share in those concerns. I think the comments to my next door neighbors, you know, my next door neighbor at 53 Longborough has a large structure in his backyard that frankly would be larger than the garden suite that we are proposing, that is built right up to the lot line. And my next door neighbor has a concrete driveway and a concrete rear yard. There is no soft landscaping. So, I mean, I think it's a bit unfair to judge our application on soft landscaping areas or a garden suite, especially one of the opposition parties to this being my next door neighbor, when he himself does not provide for those requirements. As a matter of fact, what we would be providing by way of soft landscaping would far and exceed what he is providing. So the survey that he had put before you was a survey from 1982. The survey before you now is a survey that was conducted a 1.5 years ago. You can see where his garage is. You can see where his driveway is. I don't believe that his garage was ever built with a permit. At the end of the day, if his driveway encroaches in our property and there's a disruption to that's a completely separate issue. But in closing, I think we ask the committee to please consider the variances that before them. They are minor in nature. The existing setback of the current building that's there today is 0.3 meters. We are proposing a building that fits within the
thank you.
What is
This is a rebuttal. It's not a presentation. You're doing a presentation now. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions? I have some questions, but I'll open it up to the panel members first if there's any questions.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. So I just wanted to confirm, you put in a waiver as opposed to a zoning review, correct?
Joe, do you want to speak to that? I mean, we did submit for zoning review for both.
Okay. But the question is, a couple of the residents in opposition indicated they were concerned with privacy. You're not asking or seeking a height increase, right? What you're building is permitted by bylaw.
I'm sorry, I am on. Let me answer the first question. We do have zoning applicable law certificates for both the main building and the garden suite. There was a change to the plan for the garden suite where we added 2 bike parking spaces. So that was the 4th variance on the ZAP. And so the waiver was submitted to reduce that 1 variance for the bike parking.
Correct. But what I'm asking...
If you can repeat the second question?
Yeah. So there was a couple points raised about privacy and shadowing. So my question was, I just wanted to reconfirm with you, you're not seeking a height variance, correct? The building itself is compliant with the bylaw.
The building itself is compliant
With regards to height.
Yes.
With regards to height.
Yes.
It's not compliant with all aspects of the bylaw.
Right.
Otherwise, we wouldn't be here.
And if I could briefly speak to the side yard setback and the height issue in relation to those two. Pulling in the side yard to the 1.2 meters at a 3-story building on this type of lot, I don't believe it would really change the issue. There's still going to be shadowing. It is a 3-story building in comparison to 1-story buildings. So what we're asking for is something that I think is in fairness. The 0.3 is existing, very consistent with all the other buildings along that street. If somebody were to put an application in for a permit for a 2-story building, it's still going to have shadowing effect on a 0.03 side yard setback. So it's just a fairness issue that's the typology in that neighborhood.
Okay, actually, I'm going to follow up on that because my question really had to do with the side yard setback. And, you know, as a planner, just want to get your opinion on the fact that you're now going with a 3-story versus a 1-story, and you're not improving your setback at all. And, you know, the argument that it's consistent with the rest of the neighborhood doesn't wash because the rest of the neighborhood doesn't have 3-story buildings. So do you not feel that you should be at least making a slight improvement rather than proposing the same thing for a taller building?
I believe no. It has to do with the typology of the existing buildings along that street, so that
so if your position, if that's your position, can you give me an example of another 3-story building in the neighborhood?
Not offhand, and especially not that is directly impacting this particular site. So I think there has been pictures that have been shown on screen of another development in that neighborhood. That's exactly the type of setbacks that are occurring in that neighborhood that have been varied and on a 3-story type of building. And so that's what we're asking for in fairness, that if the setbacks through the years have been varied and not conform to the zoning bylaw, then we're just asking for that continuation.
Have you provided us with evidence to show what you're saying? Like, I haven't seen anything. Is it somewhere in your presentation materials?
I don't have anything in my material. I can refer you to the zoning maps within the city that show along that street there are no setbacks that conform to 1.2 or any properties that are similar along the north side.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting you should be at 1.2, but I'm just you're making an argument that 1.3 is the standard topology for that neighborhood, but you haven't presented us with the evidence to that effect.
And I don't have anything that I can readily show you, but I'm sure I could find something if that's what the committee desires. Chris Carverson also may have something that he wanted to say on that topic as well.
No.
Well, we're not doing a tag team. We're not doing a tag team. Sorry.
Okay. All right.
Any other questions, Mr. Ross?
I do. One comment was made that we're abiding by the bylaws. That's not true. There's 8 variances required here. Seven variances required, which often indicate there's maybe the property isn't large enough for what they're proposing when you get that many variances. There's been a lot of talk about closeness and privacy, and most specifically for light and sunlight. Have you done a shadow study? You said you're sure it won't be a problem, but I don't see any shadow study. Is there one?
No, there is no shadow study.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? No, if not, we'll take it into committee. Any discussion?
I just want to say that, you know, while I recognize that fourplexes are much needed in the city, I'm just not sure that this particular lot is conducive to building a fourplex. I think they may have perhaps overreached a little bit in terms of adding both a garden suite and a fourplex to that lot, and I think it is an overbuild for that lot.
Okay, I think that's a fair comment, and you know, we are trying to accommodate more units, absolutely, but the context of that is that it needs to be appropriate for the neighborhood, and it needs to look like the rest of the neighborhood. And I think that's the issue here: is does this application meet that criteria?
Yeah, and with that, I would like to approve this, but I can't, which is why I was making the comment about height, because it complies. But the other variances that they're seeking, we just don't have the evidence before us to push me over the edge to convince me that I should support it. So on that basis, I'm going to move a motion for refusal.
Thank you.
And I'm going to second that motion.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, the application is refused. That was unanimous.
But please come back with a duplex or even a triplex. Yeah, or evidence.
If I may, please, thank you very much.
Do committee members want a bit of a break, or do we continue on? You're good? Okay. Power through. Okay, thank you everyone for that, for those presentations. Item 5 is 12, Burwood, sorry. And this is an application to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. There are 3 variances being requested. Forestry is requesting condition 3, and we have a support form letter with 3 signatures. Good morning. I'm just trying to see who you are.
Yes. Good morning, Chair. Good morning, panel members. My name is Jamie Higgins of 11 Hendrick Avenue. I am the agent of the owners at 12 BURWOOD Road.
I don't think we need a full presentation, maybe just a brief overview.
Yep. My clients have lived there 15 years. They want to make this a home, or their property a forever home. We designed something that's modest and tasteful, and therefore we're only seeking minor relief on 3 variances. If you'd like to go into them, I don't know. The FSI, the lot coverage are just slightly over and only over 0.2 meters from the existing driveway width. And that's to accommodate side-by-side parking, as one of my clients is a healthcare worker that works shift work, so it's needed.
I think we're aware of your variances and the application. I don't think there's no questions, and I'm assuming there's no other speakers?
Yes, that's correct. No other speakers.
Okay, perfect.
There is no.
Right. Yeah, I think we're good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Into committee then?
I'll move to approve the application. I don't think there are any.
Forestry is requesting. Yep.
Forestry number 3.
Yep. Cash in lieu.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, unanimous approval. Okay, item 6 is 6 Fox Point, and this is an application to permit and to alter the existing attached garage. There are 2 variances being requested. We have an order to comply. TRCA has provided approval letter. Ravine and Natural Forestry Protection is requesting forestry condition 1. And we have 2 letters of support. And I have 2 people down here as the agent, so I'm not sure who it is. Is it
So
Linda or Joe?
we have Linda online.
Okay.
Hi,
Hey, good morning.
Linda Sorensen. Good morning. It's Linda Sorensen, 6 Fox Point. I'm the owner.
Perfect. Could you just give us a brief overview of what you're proposing?
There is an existing 2.5 car attached garage that has been there since approximately 2011. It was previously actually a 1-car garage in the same spot. The garage was not built by us, it was built by the previous owners. As you can see, the documents we submitted, we have letters of support from our neighbors as well as Councillor Nunziata. And the TRCA has no objection to this, providing we do a small renovation to the back part of the garage. As they didn't, they found no slope stability or geotechnical concerns back there. And as far as I was aware, forestry was okay with this, but I'm not sure what condition 1 is. You mentioned condition 1.
They're going to want you to protect the city-owned tree.
Okay, we're on a ravine. There's no trees really close by. But that's not a problem.
Okay.
I will protect whatever's close by.
I don't know. I just read the report.
Okay, with the minor renovation that TRCA has requested, it's not a problem. We've already submitted drawings to the City of Toronto Building Department, which were approved pending Committee of Adjustments.
Okay, I'm a little bit confused. Maybe you can answer this question for me to alleviate my confusion. Is any of the existing garage below the stable top of bank?
Only a small portion on the northwest corner.
Okay, and is that going to be removed?
Yes. On the drawings that we submitted, there should be something from the geotechnical company that did the survey, and it shows the portion that will be removed. It's a small portion. It's like 5 feet in.
Well, 5 feet may not be small for some people, but the bottom line is in the end product will not be below stable top of bank. It'll all be at or above, correct?
Correct.
Okay. But just wanted to confirm that.
Okay.
Bill, was that your question too, or?
No, I just had a question about the time frame. So this originally went to C of A in August 2011, and that was to legalize and maintain the attached garage. So was that the single one that I guess was there before? Now you're doing the double?
No, it's a very long story.
There's a story here.
We didn't purchase the house until 2017. The garage was already there. It was the previous owner that built this garage, which was, we are guessing, circa 2011. Okay. There is a Google map showing a 1-car garage in 2009.
Okay.
So this is something that was inherited by us.
Got it. And you're just cleaning it up?
Yes.
And making it better?
Hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're right. I'm looking at 2009 right now, and it is a single-car garage. So, yeah, that was my question, actually, that there was a previous decision in 2011 with conditions, but since you were not the owners, you probably didn't fulfill those conditions.
Absolutely. And neither did the previous owner.
And neither did the previous owner. But you're about to fulfill them to the best of your ability anyway. Okay.
Clear as mud. Okay. Are we good? Okay. So, yeah, and I'm still confused about the forestry condition as well, but,
I can speak to my contact at the forestry just to clarify. I've been in communication with them for quite some time, so.
Laura, is that the property?
This is it right here. This is the garage in question.
Yeah, but there's no city tree there.
There's no city tree there, so I don't, that's what well, it would be private tree then.
Yeah, I'm just wondering why condition 1. That's, unless they're referring to the neighbor's tree.
This one?
Yeah.
Possibly.
Anyway, yeah. So, committee members ready for a motion?
And with that, I believe the application does meet the 4 tests and move a motion for approval, subject to the February 27, 2025 forestry condition.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dalton. Thank you, Mr. Pavic. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you. 7. Item 7. 1 CEDARLAND Drive. And this is an application to construct a 1-story addition above the existing dwelling, a rear 2-story addition above the existing attached garage, and a new covered front porch. Having said all of that, there's only 1 variance being requested, and forestry is requesting condition 1, and there is an arborist report have been provided by the applicant. And our speaker is Mr. Eddie Perez.
Mr. Chair, before I connect Eddie, we do have 1 neighbor who came in, they didn't register, and they would like to speak on behalf of this item.
Okay. Do we know who they are, and can we ask them if are they in person or? Oh, okay. Neighbor, do you have concerns with this, or?
Just a real quick concern. I'm not sure you're the right people to be talking to. I don't know what.
Want to identify yourself?
Well, no, I don't want to do that yet. I just want to know whether to ask Eddie to do a full presentation or not. That's why. Okay.
It won't take long.
Okay. We'll get Mr. Perez to do a brief overview first then. Thank you.
Hello. Good morning, Chairman and committee members. My name is Eddie Perez. We're at 537 Rogers Road. As you noted, we're proposing to add a 2nd story and extend the garage portion. The footprint, we have no variances for coverage. We have no variances for height. The only variance we have is the 1 variance, which is the GFA, 25%. We're proposing 34.5%. We're at 56% floor index instead of the required 0.5%. And many projects in the area have gotten approved with these numbers or greater, and a much more variances than we have. And we're not imposing too much on the neighbors. I feel that this project is very minor in nature and meets the 4 tests. I'll feel free to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you, Eddie. I think the question is going to come from the speaker. So come on up.
Thank you. I'm Ian McIntosh. I live at 2 Greywood Drive. This may or may not be a valid question, but the property, I applaud what's happening with the building. I have no issues with the lot or what they're going to do. My issue is that it is a very big bottleneck in terms of traffic. And what's going to happen is when we get all of the trucks and everything else coming in and all of the working crew, there's going to be an awful lot of vehicles, likely on Greywood Drive.
And we can't do anything about it.
And that's what I was worried about.
Yeah, you're going to need to talk to the buildings department.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
No worries, thanks.
My first trip here, and I was interested too.
Okay, Eddie, I don't think you need much of a rebuttal on that, but if you want to put in your 2 cents, please do.
Yeah, the only thing is the parking is already existing, and we're not moving the location of the parking.
Okay.
So thank you.
Thank you. Committee members, please.
Sure. I'll move a motion. Application's very straightforward. I believe it meets the 4 tests. So I move a motion for approval. subject to the February 27th, 2025 forestry condition.
Thank you, Mr. Dalton.
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Popovic. All in favor? Okay, unanimous approval. Thank you, Eddie.
Thank you very much.
Okay, let's finish the page.
You want
Do
to take a break now
you want to take a break?
till 11? Break till
Sure.
11?
Yeah, if we take a 10-minute break till 11 a.m. then. Thank you.
Laura was in town. She was saying, I'm not sure.
Yeah, we're starting up in 2 minutes. Okay, if we can get going again. Well, 10:59, depend on your watch. Okay, welcome back to the morning session. We're at item 8, which is 1 Jellicoe Avenue. This is an application to construct a second-story addition above the existing attached garage and to convert the existing attached garage into habitable space. The existing duplex will be maintained. There is 1 variance being requested. It has to do with parking. Forestry is requesting condition 2. Metrolinx has advisory comments. And we have a speaker online.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. This is Nafisa Zangiabadi. I'm the agent representing the owners. Address is 30 Apple Orchard Path, Thornhill.
Good morning. I don't think we need a full presentation. I mean, essentially, you're adding a third, you're essentially creating a triplex.
Correct.
From the existing structure. I just have one question for you, actually, and that's why would you not want to maintain the existing parking?
Because there are plenty of parking space. If you look at the drawings, the driveway is basically wide enough for them to park 3 cars side by side. And
That's
even more
correct,
if
but are you not
on-
proposing to remove that and put green space on it?
Not really, but we're just keeping the existing one.
Okay, because well then, maybe we can pull up the plans because that's not the way I've read it.
Sorry, what was that?
I would like staff to pull up the site plan so we can look at that.
Sure.
So where is the existing driveway on the, do we have the site? Yeah.
Yes, existing driveway. They just want to keep there for their cars.
Okay, so you are keeping the existing driveway. Okay, so
Correct.
then does that not trigger a variance for having a parking space in front of a house?
No, it doesn't. It's the way that the city examiner wrote it. They're just going for 0 parking space.
Say again?
The variance that the zoning examiner has written is just 0 parking space.
But you don't have 0 parking space. You're saying you're maintaining the 2 or 3 parking spaces you have.
On the driveway, there's no parking permit because street parking is permitted, but they just park their car on the driveway.
Okay, but the area that you're parking in is on the private property. It's not in the city boulevard, correct?
Correct.
So,
But they still can park on city property if they want. But they're just going to use the driveway they have been using this driveway for their parking for a while.
okay, that's my confusion because you're requesting a variance to eliminate the parking, but you're saying you're keeping the parking.
No, we are eliminating the parking space in the garage. So we're going for a variance for 0 parking.
Okay, understood, but you still have 2 legal parking spaces in front of the garage, do you not?
They're not considered legal, Mr. Chair.
They're not considered legal, yes.
Parking has to be provided in an attached or detached garage, carport, or rear yard parking space. So because the garage is being converted to habitable space, it's no longer providing parking.
Okay,
so
but
the
then that's my
driveway leading to it is not approved parking.
Okay, but could they not ask for a variance to provide parking that abuts the house and therefore legalize that parking?
If we wanted to legalize the parking space on the driveway, then we have to ask for transportation for a legal parking pad. It doesn't have to do anything with the zoning.
Okay. Okay. You learn something every day. Yeah. Okay, because we could impose a condition to remove the curb cut, for example. No, I know, but, no, not any condition, but that would be a reasonable thing to do, given that there's zero parking. But she's saying that they're going to maintain the parking.
We're going to maintain the driveway, yes.
Okay. As long as you're maintaining the parking, I don't have a problem with it. I thought
Yes.
that should be reflected somewhere in the application. But I'm being told there's no need to reflect that.
Yes, and as per zoning, no, it's just a transportation if they
Okay.
want to get it, yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? No? Okay, well, turn it to my fellow committee members. Yes, please.
Sure. With that, I find the application to be straightforward and meets the 4 tests. I move a motion for approval, subject to the February 27, 2025 forestry condition.
Thank you, Mr. Dalton.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Ms. Alderson. All in favor? Okay, the application is unanimously approved. Item 9, 183 Princess Anne Crescent. This is an application to construct a 2-story front and east side additions. There is one variance being requested, which has to do with front yard setback. Planning is requesting a condition of approval, as is forestry. Metrolinx has advisory comments. And our agent is online, not registered. Do we know who they are?
Yes, so we have them. Louis.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, panel members, and staff.
Could we get your name and address, please?
Yes, absolutely. It's Luis Bahania. Address is 4 Munhall Road, Etobicoke,
Okay.
Ontario. M9. No, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
I don't think we need a full presentation, but if you can give us perhaps a brief overview.
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely. So it's an existing single-family dwelling. It's on a basically 7-meter lot by 20-meter lot, so it's quite a lot. Our proposal is to build on top of an existing garage footprint, along with also we're extending the garage footprint towards the front of the street, and basically just to create a little bit more space for a growing family and perhaps an elderly father that's going to be moving in with them. So create a little private space for the father, and that's basically it. Yeah, one minor variance. I know we talked to transportation. We actually already received the certificate, the clearance. I know arborists, we have to do some research. There might be a tree in question, so we have no objections with that either. And no issues from any neighbors or abutting, in the area.
Okay, thank you.
Are you actually creating a tandem garage? When you're extending it towards the front?
Sorry, what was that? I couldn't hear the first part. It sounded very echoey.
He didn't hear your question.
Oh, sorry. I don't think I had my mic. That's a problem. It's on now. Okay. You're moving more towards the front with the extension. Are you creating a tandem garage?
That's correct.
Okay. I just want to understand it. That was all. There's nothing wrong with having a tandem.
Yeah, and then also, tandem garage. It's just because the lot we can't really do a double, but a tandem with some mudroom built-ins in the back, just for the kids to come in, to just drop all their stuff, kind of thing. So there's a little kind of mudroom in the back of the garage, and then therefore we will have a tandem garage in the front.
Okay. Thank you for explaining it.
No problem.
Okay, and I think that's why planning has a condition. They want to make sure that it pertains to the garage only and nothing else with regards to the front yard setback.
Yeah, correct.
Excellent. There's no other speakers on this item, I'm assuming?
No, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, thank you. So if we can take it into committee?
Forestry on this one?
Yes.
For a motion?
Sure.
On the basis of the materials, the presentation, I believe this request meets the 4 tests. I move to approve with the planning condition.
And of urban forestry.
Correct. And urban forestry.
Yep.
Metrolinx has none.
Okay, so motion to approve with 2 conditions.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Dalton. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you, Luis.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, item 10. Need to go to my next page. 50 Orchard Crescent. This is an application to construct a new detached dwelling with a attached garage, a rear covered deck, and an in-ground pool and cabana in the rear yard. There are 6 variances being requested. Planning is requesting 3 conditions in the event of approval. Forestry is requesting condition 3, which is cash in lieu. And TRCA is commenting that they're fine with it, and there's an arborist report. Ava Barnett is the agent.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. It's
Maybe
Joel
not.
Tanner here at the
Okay.
Design Studio.
Can
I
we
will be
get your
speaking on Ava's behalf today.
Can we get your address, please?
Most certainly, it's 1515 Colburn Street, Hamilton, Ontario.
Okay. If we can get a presentation, perhaps a brief, but nonetheless a presentation on this.
Most certainly. We did submit a presentation. I'm happy to walk you through it here. So existing is a 2-story dwelling that we are going to be completely removing. There's been a pretty substantial amount of moisture issues over the years. Our clients purchased it about a year ago, and we started the design process. We're looking to build a beautiful 2-story home on the property, as mentioned, attached garage, rear patio, cabana, and pool. That render is shown on the right-hand side of your screen right now. Next slide, please. So this is just showing you a brief overview in blue of what is the proposed building footprint. The gray is, the blue is the existing, the gray is the proposed. You know, fairly similar in terms of overall, you know, building form when it comes to the site plan condition. Next slide, please. So requested variance number 1 is when it comes to lot coverage. So allowable is 33. We're sitting at 34.17, and that is inclusive of a 30 square foot cabana. Fairly modest relief from the zoning provision. Grading plan has been completed to ensure proper grading and drainage around the perimeter of the building, the cabana, and the pool in its entirety. Next slide, please. Requested variance number 2 is to permit a maximum building height of 10.72, whereas 8.5 is permitted. We did a fair amount of research on what has happened in the neighborhood and the streetscape over the years. Highlighted here are 2 buildings that exist and have been built already and are occupied. Image on the left, 64 Springbrook, just on the other side of the creek, is a 12.14 meter overall volume. And then your image on the right is 35 Orchard Crescent, just a stone's throw from our proposed 50 Orchard project, sitting at 10.73. And so, you know, precedence is being set in the neighborhood. We are trying to create something that's visually appealing and that doesn't dominate the streetscape and blends well with the neighboring community. Next slide, please. Variance number 3 is regarding maximum height of sidewalls. So we highlighted a few different items here, but our main walls are sitting at 7.48 meters on the east and 9.85 meters on the west. 6 meters is permitted. Now, the next slide will continue into a few more intense details just to better understand these conditions. So the westerly elevation faces a city-owned land, and so it's undeveloped land, it's parklands. So we kept that visual massing, which you're seeing here on the right-hand elevation, west elevation, as being a little bit more dominant. But that east elevation, which is facing the neighboring home, we really wanted to pull down that stature, which is really what drove the overall slope of that roof in order to hug down that left volume and not completely dominate the building envelope just to the east of us. Next slide, please. So again, this is just showing you that overall map view where we have that park condition to the west, where we do have the taller volume, and then the single family home condition to the east, where we have that shorter stature volume proposed. Next slide, please. Variance number 4 is pertaining to the maximum building length. We're just over the allowable 17 meters. We're sitting at 17.47. The building length is measured below grade from the front foundation wall to the furthest rear foundation wall at 17.47. But the actual above grade walls are measuring 17.1 on the east side. And again, just a reminder, the east side is the neighbor's side, and 15.02 on the west side, which is the park side. So in the reality of that building volume above grade, it's much more in keeping with the allowances within the zoning bylaw intent. Next slide, please. Variance number 5 is pertaining to an GFA at 62, whereas 45 is permitted. Now, there's a series of complexities here. We're only allowed a deduction of 4% of void areas, whereas the typical in the city of Toronto is 10%. And we're also not allowed to deduct the parking areas, which we're allowed to in most areas of Toronto. The attic space is also being added into the GFA, even though it is not going to be a livable space, it is being added into the GFA calculations. So if we do look at a modified version of the calculations of the parking spaces, 10% void area in the attic, the GFA comes in closer to 15.19, which was our expectation of how the numbers would be calculated. So there's a little bit of a technical detail deviation from our expectation to drive to that 62%. Next slide, please. On this slide, you're just seeing a couple different versions here. 35 Orchard permitted a GFA of 62.
I'm going to ask you to wrap it up,
Orchard,
actually.
yeah, sorry. Permitted a GFA 59 at number 30, and variance number 6 is just the front yard setback at 9.57, 2.65 is required. We're really trying to push as far away from the creek as possible, and also just keeping in mind that the main wall dwelling is actually 10.98, but this is calculated to the front roof overhang. I appreciate the committee's involvement in the project today. We've had some great feedback from the city, the TRCA, and RNFP process. Any questions, more than happy to answer them. Thank you so much.
Is there anyone else to speak to this item? No?
No.
Okay, so if we can take into committee, any questions? No? Okay. Anyone ready for a motion?
So with that, thank you for the presentation. I do believe the application is supportable and move a motion for approval, subject to the forestry and planning conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Dalton. Is there a seconder?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Ms. Alderson. All in favor? Yeah, that's unanimous approval. Thank you, Joel.
Thank you so much, committee. Have a great day.
Thank you. Item 11.
So, Mr. Chair, the agent is here in person.
In person, okay. So this is 34 Chauncey Avenue. This is an application to construct an ancillary storage structure in the rear yard. This is a commercial property. There are 2 variances being requested. Planning is recommending refusal, or in the event that we do approve, condition of approval, and forestry is requesting condition 2. And you are Ralph, I'm assuming?
I am.
Okay. Given that you've got a negative planning report, would behoove you to do a presentation.
I think it's worthy.
Thank you.
That's why I'm here.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Respected members, good morning. Hello again. I'm here today representing the application as presented by the chair. Today I want to speak specifically to an application which is refreshing to deal with on occasion, and that's an industrial use. We're not just trying to take employment zone lands and convert them to residential. Unique in that sense. If I could speak to the site plan orientation and respectfully ask, I do have a rendering, but I'm told I can't present it to the members. With your courtesy, if it helps you, it's available. The existing building, as the members may or may not know, is constructed in the 1960s, low in scale, single-story industrial buildings. Quite possibly a series of buildings built between Shaw Bridge to the west and Northrop to the east. Many of the occupants of these buildings share a variety of light industrial and commercial uses that represent a very thriving economic corridor in the city of Etobicoke, city of Toronto. I would interpret these buildings as those that many, many years ago provided a function related to manufacturing and heavy industry. Today they function more in the capacities of what I deem prestige industrial with cleaner uses. Our site in particular is an improved building, a renovated building which is owner occupied. The property is accessed from CHAUNCEY, provides one-way vehicular circulation around the built form. That means we can rotate around the building to access the service doors, overhead doors, and man doors that exist in the building. The addition as submitted is clearly identified on the site plan and architectural drawings. with a design that is very urban in appearance, with a more stylish building by far advanced than the normal hard surface industrial forms we see in employment zone areas. The new addition will function with 3 new loading doors, detached, that mirror the rear of the existing building in a north-south orientation. The access route will continue in a safe and adequate sightline movement for both the primary building and, of course, the storage garage. With relief from the bylaw and the members' support, our client can benefit from the additional floor space and height that they require. In fact, we're applying for about 1,000 square feet of floor area. Planning staff report has been prepared without any communication to our office. However, we concur with staff that the bylaw does not prescribe distinct setbacks for a standalone building garage such as this. It applies to the primary building, and I think that's important to realize. The setbacks that we've created, or the way the building organizes itself, is more about the design and function of the facility by adding this floor area. The setbacks respectfully will deal with a more appropriate grading because the property behind us is higher. We're lower. It's all disturbed. By positioning the building at the rear, we'll be able to adjust that grade and create a retaining wall within our building. Furthermore, members, the building does permit a more organized function of the rear yard for the operators. This will allow and eliminate neighboring properties' overview of clutter, rear yard open storage, garbage, waste bins, abandoned cars, and of course, something that's trendy now is sea containers. So it's a complement to what we're trying to achieve. This application, members panel, does speak to the official plan requirement with support of the adjoining neighbors in writing. I hope you receive that as well. And with this committee, staff can be assured that their concerns have been responsibly fulfilled within the public interest that planning staff worries about. We minimize the impact of the 4 tests and professionally submit that this does comply with the 4 tests of the Act. And I'm here to answer any questions, and thank you.
Thank you.
This time.
Thank you for being on time, too. I do have a couple of questions. Is this essentially a 3-story structure you're proposing?
Well, no, it's wide open because there's going to be racking units in it,
Okay.
robotic racking units.
So it's a single floor but warehouse height?
That's correct.
Okay. And you said you had support from neighbors?
Yeah, there's 2 letters that were submitted, the adjoining neighbors.
I haven't seen those.
No.
They were received. I saw it on the site, the AIC this morning. It's there.
Did they just come in yesterday?
Yesterday they did, yes, that's correct.
Past the deadline?
They were in the additional material.
Okay, we have none of that. None of us have any of that. So.
Well, my associate can attest that he was the one that has written authorization. So we did the good neighbor policy thing.
We don't disbelieve you because there's also no opposition. So
true.
Just wanted to clarify because, as I say, I haven't actually seen it. I think those are the extent. No, it was not. No, it was not. Is it possible that your client has outgrown the facility?
Sorry?
Is it possible your client has outgrown the facility? Is that?
No.
No?
No, they've made adjustments internally. They need bay door to bay door. The movement of the trucks that service this facility are small in scale. So they need an outlet and an inlet, sort of a mini shipping and receiving.
Okay, because I'm trying to understand why not just do an addition to the existing building?
Well, effectively, it is cheaper to do it that way.
Yeah.
3 walls versus 4, but at the same time, they need doors. Okay. And there is an existing door on the west side, which they can't access anymore because they've got racking and storage in there as well. So it truly is about the function and the form that this opportunity creates for this particular business.
Okay. Questions from panel members? No?
Well, yeah. So in planning's letter, they say these uses could generate negative externalities or impacts on abutting properties, such as?
I'm sorry, I'm not.
So on the second page of the planning letter, they indicate these uses could generate negative externalities or impacts on abutting properties. So my question is, such as?
In other words, what do you think?
What do you think?
I mean, we took it upon ourselves to speak to the neighbors, and respectfully, they do share a driveway. They do share circulation, and they're good neighbors. We didn't want to impede or impact on this. Staff could possibly be referring to precedent, whatever that means. I mean, but we're trying to make the best of a limited situation. And externalities, I presume we'd hear from neighbors in opposition if there was an impact on them or over and upon them.
Okay. And did you note earlier you had no contact with city staff?
No.
None?
No.
So you put in an application, then they submitted this letter?
I'm very proactive that way. I am very proactive that way.
Thank you.
I know there was a condition, not a condition, in the event they mentioned, not verbatim, but they mentioned that if the committee decides, there's a paragraph there to attach.
If we choose to disagree with their recommendation to refuse, then their alternative is a condition is imposed. And you're aware of the condition?
I'm aware of it.
Okay.
And we've also read through the forestry condition as well, sir.
Fair enough.
The condition being the site plan?
Yeah, I mean, they basically just want to make sure that it continues to be an ancillary building and it's not tied to the other one.
Yeah.
Okay. The two letters of support, are they online now? Can we ask staff? Or?
Yes, they were submitted after we.
They were
the
submitted,
late
okay.
materials.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Okay, we'll leave it at that, take it into committee then.
Who are the letters of support?
The two immediate neighbors.
The two immediate neighbors, 32 and 34, 36.
And no feedback from the property to the rear?
No.
Okay.
No. If anything, at our cost, we'll be improving that grade change between their property and ours, because they're draining onto our property. So I've got to correct that within that limit we have, and that's part of this design and engineering exercise.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
So with that, I do believe the application is supportable and meets the 4 tests, and would move a motion for approval subject to the forestry and planning conditions.
I'll second that motion. Excuse me.
Thank you, Ms. Alderson. All in favor? Okay, it's unanimous approval.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, our last item for the morning, item 12, 16 MADILL Street. This is an application to construct a 1-story addition above the garage. There are 2 variances being requested. An arborist report has been provided by the applicant. Forestry is requesting refusal, or in the alternative, condition 2. And our agent is online.
Hello, my name is John Lavero. My address is 25 Wingold Avenue, 2nd floor, Toronto, Ontario. I'm representing 16 MADILL Street.
Okay. Sorry for my mispronunciation.
Yeah, I heard you. It's a pretty straightforward application. We're just adding a 2nd story above the existing garage. We're maintaining all the same, overhangs of the roof to maintain the design integrity of the house and not make it look like some crazy addition. There wasn't any comments from planning, and although we appreciate the comments from urban forestry, we would like to, settle that with them separately with an urban forestry application. That's pretty much all I have to say for this application.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from panel members? Seeing none?
So with that, the forestry matter is still unresolved, correct?
So we can make it subject to the forestry condition.
Sorry, so the question is you've not resolved the forestry's issue?
There is nothing to resolve. They're speaking planning items. I thought forestry just speaks on tree items. They're just saying that they want us to change the architecture because it's affecting the tree. They don't want the tree to be removed. But recently, last night, we have received consent from the neighbor, adjoining neighbor, who also is co-owner of the tree, that he's fine with the removal of the tree. So that's why I'm saying, can we settle this separately with an urban forestry application?
Okay, so that's a boundary tree that you're referring to.
Yes, tree number 3 in the arborist report.
Okay. Yeah, but I mean, if you condition that, then yeah. Okay. I'm assuming there are no other speakers.
Yeah, there are no other speakers.
Thank you. So let's take it into committee. If there's any other discussion, if not, anyone's ready for a motion.
If no one has any comments, I'm ready to make a motion.
Thank you, Ms. Sellers.
I believe this application meets the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and move for approval subject to urban forestry condition number, I've got number 1.
2, it's a private tree.
It's a private tree. Number 2.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Dalton. All in favor? Okay, unanimous approval. Thank you, John.
Thank you, committee members. Have a great day.
And with that, I think we're adjourned for this morning.
Mm-hmm.
What do you often do in the morning?
Don't forget to stop your videos, please.